I'm going to cover just the basics that you need to get started into watch repair at home as a hobbyist. These are what the professional watchmakers use. I've been doing it for about a year now, and if you go online, it becomes a daunting task to try to evaluate what's needed to service like an ETA 2824, 2836, some of your common movements, the Seiko movements. And these in front of you are basically I'm going to get these out of the way because those are the nice little pretty cans they come in. These are the lubricants that you need to do a proper movement service. And I'm going to put this right here because this is a grease. So we're going to start with Moebius 9010. That is your core synthetic oil. It's all for your fast moving train. The color is like a green, kind of just a note for what it looks like. You're going to need something thicker for your slower moving train, like Moebius. This is 9104, also referred to as HP1300. This supersedes D5, which is a mineral base. This is a synthetic base, the HP1300/9104. So those are going to take care of your fast and slower moving train parts. Okay, so you're looking at about Jules Boral. I just checked the prices before doing this video. Jules Boral has a small, tiny 2 milliliter bottle for around $28. About the same for the HP 1300. So those are your cores right there. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what I would still consider optional as starting out, but I'm going to mention it. This is for the escapement pallet jewel, and for a long time, people were using, or some watchmakers were using 9010 for the escape jewel as a lubricant for the escape wheel. Not the escape wheel, but they're applying to the exiting jewel. So what Moebius came up with was 941 and 9415. Now this is for a higher beat movement, so this works on lower beats also. This would be the proper lubricant, synthetic lubricant to get for that also. And I think the price is around $33 for this, a little bit more than these, but you can see it's a little bit bigger bottle, which is ironic because you're just putting a dab on the exiting jewel, and this for a home hobbyist is gonna last forever. That's why I say if you're just starting out buying junk movements or movements that just need service, like I started out with ETA 2846s because I found about a year ago, I found quite a few of them. It seemed like they were all over the place for $20 that just needed services, and that's ended up what they needed to work. So I'd say personally, and I'm going to get flamed by all the watchmakers, if any watch my videos. So nobody really watches my videos. What am I talking about? But so, I mean, I would say you can get away with using 9010 on the escape jewel. The advantage of 9415 is the properties changes as it makes contact, and it's not going to run off because as you look at an escapement wheel and how the pallet fork is rocking back and forth, that's kind of high speed, and it's kind of flinging. It has a flinging nature, so 9010 won't stay put as well as 9415 will. So if you really want to get fanatical, you'll definitely need those three. So you're talking, 28, around 28, 30, 33, somewhere around there for each. So, it's around $90, depending on where you go. So that's going to get you really into what you needed for the basics. Now you're going to need a grease for metal to metal contact points like Keyless Works and Canyon Pinion. You can use Molykote. And one of the things I noticed with Molykote is there is a vendor on eBay that's has a extremely high rating. He's been around for a long time. And what he's basically doing, I think, is he's buying huge tubes of like Molykote DX. And he's, giving you a small little, I don't even know what the amount is. It's just a small, tiny, actually for me, that's going to last me almost, it probably will expire before I even use it all. Molykote DX grease for all your metal to metal contacts. And I mean, that's what I got. And I paid $8 for it plus shipping. So I think 8 or 12, I can't remember. But that's going to cover me, and he's got a great rating. So that basically, if you can find, and that's where I'm going to get into these two right here. If you can find on eBay a seller with a high reputation, a good standing in the eBay community, and somebody that's been doing it for a while, these two I'm definitely going to recommend going to. This is 8217. Moebius 8217, and basically I'm sure what he's doing is he's buying the biggest jar of Moebius 8217, and he's distributing it in smaller, tiny bottles. And I think I paid $7 or $8 for this, for a tiny, just a very tiny amount. But the amount in here, and this is a barrel braking grease for your mainspring barrel walls. As your mainspring winds to keep it from snapping, it's got to have just the right amount of grease to allow it to break, but not so much as, and this is a common mistake, and this is more of an inexpensive grease right here. And I think you can pick this up for around $20. I'll have to check prices, but this is just a standard mineral-based grease. And I have seen an error, people using this on the barrel wall, and this is not what you need. You need a braking grease, and that's what the term applies. It's a braking grease. It's a grease that allows just enough slip for the mainspring not to get locked in place as the auto wind system keeps winding it and it snaps, or the user keeps manually winding it through the stem and he or she snaps it. So it allows enough slip, but not so much where it's constantly slipping, where it won't hold, the spring won't hold its wind to give the maximum efficiency of time when it's in standby. So you definitely need that for the barrel side walls. And like I said, that little amount right here, it looks like nothing, but I can tell you, and I bought 2 bottles of this, it's just, it's not even a pinky size, but just when you put that on your oiler in 3 places on the barrel wall, you can tell it's going to last you like, God, you could do over 150 movements with that, in my opinion. And I bought 2 of those for $8 each. Or $7 each, I can't remember. 8200, some manufacturers recommend to use 8200, which is a natural grease in the, not in the side barrel walls, but this goes on to the mainspring. Some can just, you can take some watch paper and or your cots and put it on your between your fingers and kind of just oil the spring before you wind it. So I would definitely. I would say now here, let me cover this one here. Now, somebody online gave me this when I was asked a question on the watchmakers helping watchmakers on Facebook. Just a bunch of beautiful people. They're all helping we're all helping each other in the community, especially for hobbyists getting started. They're answering questions. And I asked a question about braking grease between Moebius and this, and I said, I kind of mentioned it was kind of daunting when I was first starting out about a year ago, and I said, just trying to figure out which one I need, and buying a big jar of this, it is very pricey. I think it's like $70 or $80 for a big jar. And when I say big jar, it's like half of this. And that's, if you're a professional watchmaker doing it for a living, servicing customer watches, you'll buy the bigger bottles of these because it doesn't make sense to buy the tiny ones because you're lubricating movement after movement. And even though for a hobbyist, these will last probably 5 or 10 years even past the expiration date. And I'll cover that a little bit with synthetics versus traditional mineral oils. Past the expiration date, because when you're a home hobbyist, you're not going to, when you put it on a little oiler, the tip of a little oiler, this stuff lasts forever. You'd have to be servicing a lot of watches. So if you can find for braking grease, if you can justify buying the big bottle, this is a little bit more expensive than 9010 or these other lubricants. Go ahead and buy it. But if you can find like a seller that's got good standing who's selling little small amounts to get started. And I'm mainly doing this for people who are just getting started, because this is, like I said, a little bit overwhelming with the cost, because this just gets you the lubricants. Now you're talking, you need the movement holder, you need an ultrasonic cleaner, at least at minimum. If you really wanted to do it on the cheap, an ultrasonic cleaner with clean fluids, but if you really want to do it on the cheap, you're just starting out, trying it to see if you like it. Actually, if you're trying it out just to see if you like it and you're not sure, and you're just trying to get your feet wet, don't even buy these. Okay, don't waste your money at first buying these. If you go to Otto Free or Jules Boral or Esslinger, look for Moebius 8000. That is basically the mineral version of this right here. Get that and get you this at Esslinger KT22, and you can use that in place of Molyco DX. And this is like a red grease, and this is for it's American-based company supplier, and this is your heavy grease for metal-to-metal contact, keyless works, and Kenyon and Pinion. You could use that for. and that'll get your feet wet. You can just start. You can cover a lot just with those two, and those two will probably be less than $20. So I don't have Moebius 8000, but just look for the Moebius 8000. Like I said, that's basically the non-synthetic version of 9010. You know, it would be nice if you're going to do that. If you're going to, for a couple more bucks, add you something equivalent like a heavier version of a grease, and I'm sure you can. I have my mind escapes me, but you can come up with something like that. But at least with those two, you can get your feet wet, and if you like it. That's going to cost you about $20, and you can get a cheap oiler and an oil cup. You're looking at $35 because you can buy oilers individually for like $4. You can get you a medium or a small oiler. You can get an oil cup for $5, just a little small plastic oil cup. You get a movement holder for $10, $15. You don't need to buy a Bergeon holder. You can just get a whatever Esslinger. Usually Esslinger kind of screens out stuff. So does Jules Boral. So a lot of their stuff that you're getting even on their generic stuff is more geared towards beginners. They kind of know they have that market. And it's kind of funny too, because I don't think like companies like Jules Boral at one point, I'm not sure they were selling to the hobbyists. They were more selling to professional watchmakers, but it seems like they've opened up to as well as a couple other watch material, suppliers open up to the hobbyist market, which I think was smart because, probably for them dealing with professional watchmakers who know what they need and they just buy from the material catalog is probably great, easy business. But opening up the ability for the hobbyist to buy from you opens so many more doors and earn so many more potential long-time customers, because there's going to be a percentage of those that may move on to become professional watchmakers, and they're going to keep that in mind. And if they like your service, they're going to, buy from you if they're an independent. So, I think that's a great thing. But I know years ago there was a couple of those material supply houses that were kind of locked down to just professional account holders doing business with them. So like just to recap, if you really just want to get your feet wet and you don't want to spend the money for these, which like I said, you're talking $90 for these three probably. If you shop around, you can get these from, and please order them from a watch material supply house like Jules Boral, Otto Free, Star Time Supply, Esslinger. Those are good, reputable companies. Be a little careful on ordering from, directly from France or anything like that. I'm not saying that, off of eBay. I'm not saying they're bad or good. Sometimes you can run into a scenario that some companies are selling like nearly expired, because if you look at some of these bottles, they'll have a lot number and an expiration. You want to obviously get them as fresh as possible. These synthetics usually last, have a 5-year shelf life. Mineral base has, as you can guess, has a little bit less. Like I bought this last year, and I think 8200's got like a 2-year shelf life. But as a home hobbyist, will I go past it a couple years? I'm sure I will. Will it degrade at that time and cause any problems? For me, I don't care. I'm just if the mainspring gets gummed up, I'll just take it apart, clean it, and redo it again. You're not talking about doing it for a customer. If you're doing it for a customer, you're definitely swapping these out before the expiration date or right near the expiration date, because you're doing it for a business. But if you're, and I'm not talking to those individuals are professionals. I've learned from them. I'm thankful for them and their information, but they do it for a living. So they have to, provide the customer the best service possible. But you as the home hobbyist can have a lot more flexibility that they don't. So if you have any questions, go ahead and post them on in the comments, and I'll try to answer them. But again, what you're seeing before you is if you really want to do a good job and you got a really nice ETA movement and you've kind of practiced and you want to move up from those two or three lubricants I recommended, the 8000, maybe a heavier oil, something similar to HP 1300. And I forgot to mention, if you go on Otto Free, Free. I'm probably mispronouncing that. They have something, another brand called Novostar, and that is an excellent company. I think they're related to AF Switzerland. Owns the brand. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think that is the case that I thought I read. So it's a good quality company. Competitor to Moebius. However, they're more still into the mineral-based lubricants. And that's where I actually started out. I started out with Novostar B from Odo, and I forget what I think I ordered. I might have ordered this from Esslinger. I can't remember, but that's how I started. And that like I said, those two are under $20 easy. Just a small bottle of that, and it'll get your feet wet, and then you can move up to the synthetics if you really like it, and start the journey like I did of investing in more and more watch tools and things you need to do like the big boys. So hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, go ahead and post them in the comments. Thanks.